Manhas. Dr. Sanjay Nadkarni, he is the Director of Innovation and Research at the Emirates Academy of Hospitality Management in Dubai, UAE, one of the leading hotel schools in the world. His domain expertise is in convergence space of analytics, digital and sustainability in the service industry. His portfolio comprises of applied research, advisory, consultancy assignments for corporate, government and multilateral agencies, in addition to his pedagogic practice, which includes visiting professorships at premier academic institutions in Asia and Europe. His professional achievements include academic and industry awards and citations of merit. His focus is on achieving tangible impact on industry and society through applied research and pedagogy. He is passionate about leveraging Industry 4.0 to benefit small and micro businesses and enjoys mentoring in digitally driven social entrepreneurship. So I am very sure that it will be a very helpful session for all the students regarding the theme. Regarding Professor Parikshat Singh Manhas, he is our regular expert since the inception of this particular web lecture series, and he is the flag bearer of this particular initiative, that is BIRTH, Borderless Educators, Resilience for Tomorrow's Tourism Hospitality. Professor Manhas, he is a professor in School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the Business School University of Jammu, and the coordinator Global Understanding course, a particular initiative taken by him in collaboration with East Carolina University, United States, and the director, University Business Incubation and Innovation Center, as well as he is the visiting professor of many universities at national and international level. His research interests are tourism, recreation and hospitality management, education and marketing, and so many other domains. Professor Manhas also won the Institute of Hospitality Education Research Award 2016 at the European Council of Hotel, Restaurant and Institutional Education. He also received the prestigious Hungarian Faculty Research Fellowship in 2013 and so many other research fellowships which he has been awarded as of now. He has also won the Career Award for Best Young Teacher awarded by All India Council of Technical Education. Besides this, he has written a number of books and research papers which are globally accepted. So I guess without wasting any time, I would like to request Professor Manhas if he can kindly initiate the session.
Very good afternoon. Thank you, Nikhil. Thanks a lot for the lovely introduction and for starting things. As Nikhil has already repeated, I would again request everyone to kindly keep their audio in a mute mode and videos off because a lot of bandwidth is used. And since we are beaming from Jammu and Kashmir, so we need as much bandwidth as we can get hold of. So kindly keep your audios in mute mode and videos off. That's a humble request. Nikhil, kindly keep noting the waiting room. Actually, today again, the similar problem is cropping up where people are not able to join in. And there are around 30 people in the waiting room who are still waiting to join, but they're not able to get in. I don't know because of the poor bandwidth or something of that sort.
Sir, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, keep a track of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. A very good afternoon to our dear friend, Dr. Sanjay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for acceding to our request. Namaskar. And so nice to see you fresh again. Literally, it's the blessing for students of Jammu and Kashmir as well as whole of India, as well as Sanjay, for your information, we have students and participants from Philippines, Malaysia, Egypt who have joined in for this particular lecture. So that's a very heartening factor. Even Kazakhstan also. So that's a very heartening factor. And we are happy that we can, we at least can bring some sort of information to their lives, to their tourism and hospitality culture in these tough times. Sanjay, as the model of this particular program is that I initiate the proceedings and I give a little bit of prelude and we talk about some sort of things about the today's topic, and then it will be your turn. Then you will be the keynote speaker. Thank you participants for joining in again today. And I know I can still see there are around about 25 people, 27 people now in the waiting room, 28 people, but they are not able to get in. We had this problem last time also. I don't know because of poor bandwidth or something of that sort. But yes, we'll get you in very soon. Keep your audios and videos mute. So I'll start sharing my screen now. Okay. Nikhil, is my screen?
Not yet, sir.
Hello.
So, we cannot see your presentation as of now.
You're muted, Parikshat.
Sir, you are not audible, Professor Manhas.
Actually, I think I was kicked out of the meeting somehow, or something. My connection got reset, so I'm back again. So I'll start sharing my screen now. Yeah. So is this fine, Nikhil?
Still, sir, we cannot. Yeah, it's come. It has come, sir. It has come. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just adjust my screen. I'm having some issues today adjusting my screen, but okay. So I'm finally set. Thank you. So the topic today is the post-COVID-19 recovery in hospitality and tourism, the impact of digital transformation. So as we have been talking about various aspects, we spoke about on MICE and then technology 4.0. Today we are talking about digital transformation. Yes, we are going to discuss post-COVID-19, but a lot of things we are going to discuss during COVID-19 also, because as I've been constantly repeating in my earlier lectures also, that COVID is not going anywhere in near future, and it's going to stay around with us and it's going to stick around. So some of these digital transformations and these things need to be taken care of during COVID also. As I initiated a couple of lectures back, wherein I thought of giving some updates to our participants over here, what the APEX organization is doing for its member states and how it is moving up. And yesterday's update is that UNWTO has partnered with CNN to create 60-second film celebrating the unique power of tourism. They're primarily going to focus on recovery, unity, and opportunity. Obviously, very, very important aspects. Recovery, indeed, we need it. And as I've been talking about the marginalized communities, the women, the people with disabilities, vis-a-vis tourism is concerned, a unity and equal opportunity for them is also required. So this is something which is a development of late yesterday evening, where UNWTO has started thinking of this particular thing, and they're going to start producing these 60-second films, and they're being deemed worldwide. So that's going to be a very important aspect to try to get people aware of the fact and be ready for the times that are going to be there. As I again and again referring to the fact that yes, tourism will not be the first to recover, or tourism will not be on the recovery road that fast or that soon. Rather, it will be the last or the second last or somewhere like that to recover, to be on the recovery road. But it will be the fastest to recovery. And mind my words, it will be the fastest to the finish line. So our graph is going to be very, very fast. So be ready, be prepared for that. Another aspect which I was looking at the UNWTO website was regarding the youth and post-COVID-19 tourism recovery. So they have been laying a lot of stress on you youngsters who are participating in this lecture, who are the students of hospitality and tourism, who are looking at things vis-a-vis tourism and hospitality are concerned, and who up to some extent, I feel, are a little bit confused also, or a little bit depressed, or little bit, I'll rather use the word anxious, that what's the future going to hold for them, how future is going to work towards them. And over here, we need to foster the youth leadership. Youngsters like you who can come forward, who can give a way forward, who can discuss their things. And on this platform only, I'm again saying that in next couple of lectures already, although we have our bookings done till June, but I'm going to involve a couple of youngsters out of you to be part of this particular program and to give their thoughts and give their views. So we are also now going to start cultivating the youth leadership aspect. And whatever you know about hospitality and tourism, whatever you want to know, whatever you want to share with your fellow participants, that how to reach out within this post-COVID-19 or during COVID-19 situation, that is going to be very important. UNWTO is also referring towards that engage young travelers as advocates of responsible tourism. That's going to be a very important aspect. Responsible tourism, sustainability are going to be the key words vis-a-vis tourism sustaining is concerned. I remember, Sanjay, a couple of weeks back or a couple of months back, we were doing a lot of research on over-tourism. there were so many things coming up on over tourism, but certainly now there is no tourism. But yes, we are going to start from scratch. And once we start from scratch, why not start in a responsible manner? Why not work in a responsible manner? So that why not reboot our whole viewpoints and whole ideas and whole way of things, the way things need to be done. And once we reboot them in a positive manner. The UNWTO is constantly referring towards obviously they have separate chapter where they are talking about people with disabilities and displaced people and migrants, but they are also laying a lot of stress on inclusion of the youth with disabilities in the tourism workforce. That's going to be a very, very important aspect. And we have been looking at, even in India also, at Indira Gandhi Airport, at Hyderabad Airport, I saw a lot of people with disabilities who were engaged in tourism services, who were engaged in various aspects. And it is primarily referring towards for the adoption of youth-focused CSR activities. So these are some of the updates that I could get hold of, which had from our past lecture till today, and something which our Apex organization is doing for its member states. This is something regarding technology. So my fellow colleague, Dr. Ramjit, gave me a very good word regarding this RAP. So reactive, active, and proactive. So he built up a very good RAP model based on this. I gave this idea and he built up a RAP model. That's a very nice thing. So what we need to look at vis-a-vis digitalization is concerned, vis-a-vis technology is concerned. Obviously, we are going to think about, we need solutions for the problems which have happened in past. Obviously, the disruptions that happen, the negative disruptions that happen, the distortions that happen, we need to be aware of them, which happened in the past, and what could be the solutions for them. Always be ready for the issues that cropped up in the past, because you never know, they might crop up again. As they are saying, vis-a-vis COVID-19 is concerned, that this is just one phase and there's going to be a second phase and there might be a third phase also. So that's what is something regarding the problems that we have and disruptions. So always be prepared for the disruptions. Think about how digitally or how technology can solve these particular issues and how they could become active. Obviously, keep your eyes and ears open and be active in the present, and keep looking at how technology is moving and how technology interventions can be required. We have been constantly, I've been handling innovation and incubation center of the university also, where we have noticed that for every stream in this world, technology interventions are very, very important. Digital interventions are very, very important, and how they are building up and how they are transforming that particular, be it horticulture, be it floriculture, be it service industry, be it tourism and hospitality. Technology interventions are very, very important. I've come out with these five mantras. It's not me that I have come out with these five mantras. I was listening to our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and in one of his earlier lectures or Udbodhan that we referred to, he gave these five mantras, AEIOU. And these were very fascinating. And I thought of that, how they can be adopted vis-a-vis technology is concerned. And they literally fit in today's lecture, and they talk about that digitalization impact, where we say that adaptability is very, very key. For all the participants over here, upgrade yourself, build up yourself to a level where you can adapt to any changes or any digitalization changes that are happening around you in your surrounding in the tourism and hospitality industry. That's a very important aspect. You have enough time on hand. We already have spent around 2.5 months or 2 months, close to 60, 70 days in a lockdown. We'll also have a limited access to things for another maybe 30 days, 60 days or 90 days. So what are we going to do within those time period? Adapt to your surroundings. Try to upgrade your knowledge levels, try to build up, see to it that you are felt wanted. People still want you, even in difficult times. People want you to be around you. People want you to work for them. That's going to be very important. Improve your efficiency skills. That's going to be a very important aspect. As I was referring in my one of my earlier lectures also, efficiency is going to be the key. Now, multitasking is going to be the key. As we were referring in one of our earlier lectures, where there may be no front office in the hotels. So, but still that interface with the customer is going to be required. How that interface is going to be built up. How that interface is actually going to make the customer or the tourist feel comfortable. So that is going to be based upon your efficiency. So how in these tough times you can still be efficient. How in these tough times you can still deliver. That's going to be very, very important. Inclusivity. Involve everyone. As I was talking about the UNWTO aspect also, that include everything. Inclusivity is going to be the new mantra, where you have to see to it that nobody is left around. because we are obviously facing very tough economic times where everybody needs to be taken along, needs to be carried around. So look at that opportunity, keep scouting for opportunities, keep looking at opportunities. As I mentioned that vis-a-vis tourism and hospitality industry is concerned, just not in this particular industry, but there are going to be many opportunities for tourism and hospitality graduates in maybe in media, maybe in virtual reality, maybe in gaming, maybe in theme parks. So there are going to be a lot of opportunities for these particular papers. Travel writing is going to be a very important aspect. Writing blogs is going to be a very important aspect, because people in future are going to travel, but their travel is going to be limited. And before they travel, they would like to have a quality information vis-a-vis that travel is concerned. As what I feel is that, for example, earlier people used to go for 10 trips. Now they might go for just 3 or 4 trips. And within those 3 or 4 trips, they might have a longer time span and they would spend more money. The point is that how you make them aware of what they are going on. And that is going to, so they are going to search a lot of information on net, on internet, digitally. They are going to look at a lot of videos before they go to any place. Universalism. That's obviously, with the advent of technology, with the advent of internet, universalism has been a key concept, and that has been actually being focused in a big way vis-a-vis tourism and hospitality industry is concerned. Coming to some of the digital strategies during COVID and post-COVID that I look at, is one of the very important aspects that I look at is communication. Communicate. Keep communicating, keep talking to your employers, keep talking to your subordinates, keep talking to all the stakeholders, including your customers. The best part is that internet, the digital modes that we have, they actually connect us at a very fast pace with our stakeholders. So that's a very important aspect. Make use of that, build upon that, and try to work out these particular things. So communication is going to be very key. Flexible cancellation policy. I would again stress upon this particular aspect. See, as new and new SOPs are coming over for vis-a-vis airline industry is concerned, cruise industry is concerned, hospitality and travel industry is concerned, flexible cancellation policy and insurance companies are going to be playing a very important role. As you know, moment you go to airports, in fact, from 25th of this month, the flights in India have also started. The domestic flights have also started. So people are being tested at the airports. There's thermal screening being done, and all those stuff is being done. And unfortunately, if somebody is found to be positive or is found not fit for travel, how do we handle that situation? Flexibility is going to be very important. How much refund he or she will be able to get. Then only they'll be comfortable in booking their tickets. Because if you deduct all their money, then maybe in future they would never book because they might feel scared. They may never book their ticket. Reassess your digital strategy. Start looking at that, what your digital strategy is going to be, which social media platform you are going to actually make use of, how much content you want to put in online, how you are going to target your people, what sort of portals you'll get involved with, what sort of search engines you want to get involved with. So look at all these aspects and how much digitalization, that means how much of your content you want to put online and create it in a digital mode and share it with your customers. That is going to be very important. I always feel that creating valuable and entertaining editorial content is going to be very important. As we were discussing other day, we came out with virtual mice, virtual destinations. A lot of museums worldwide are going virtual. So they are letting the customers have a sneak peek on them and trying to show them or showcase what all they have and all these things that they are built up. And stay connected through CRM, as I've already been mentioning. I always refer to that keep your loyal customers in loop. Branding is a very important aspect, and loyal customers, always keep your loyal members in loop. Try to keep interacting with them. Try to keep sharing thoughts with them, and keep discussing things that how future is going to shape up in times to come, and that is going to be very important aspect. So another is that we need to focus on the right set of things, and the fact that demographic targeting could be done, you can get all this information online. You can get all these information from the search engines or from your own information repository that you have. You can start building it up, start taking leads, start working on those things. All those people, all those youngsters who are still in industry or who are still working and who are still able to get hold of things, they should be looking at these particular things, that how they can target their customers, how they can look at building up and talking to these particular people. Sensitive branded messages, that's a very important aspect. What is going to be your USP, how you evolve or change your USP, how you rework your USP, and how you are going to brand yourself. That's going to be very important. See, you have to take care of the fact that you need to carry along the emotions of your customers or emotions of all your stakeholders, but you also are there for profit. That means you also are looking for money. So emotions and money, that's going to be a very, very tricky thing. How do you balance these two particular things? How you look at these particular two things and how you amalgamate them? That is going to be a very, very important focus of your digital marketing strategies. The amalgamation of your emotions and money is going to actually help you to grow and to build up and to recover fast. Social environmental issues in tourism and hospitality, as I already talked about, the fact that we need to reboot, we need to rebuild, and we need to work on this particular factor. So that's going to be a very, very important aspect in how we look at. I think I'm overshooting my time, so I'll just start wrapping up the things. I constantly have been referring to this particular factor. Flexibility will be the key. Flexibility is always going to be the key of things to come and how you handle things. I again say, take care of the fact that first of all will be the self-care, then will be the team care, and then will be the workplace care. These three things are going to be very important for future. How we make use of technology for these particular things, that's going to be the whole essence of things, and that's going to help us grow in a big way. UNWTO is always trending on the fact that stay home, hashtag stay home today, hashtag travel tomorrow. That's going to be a very important aspect. Build up, make use of the technology, understand things, what are the processes going on, and start building on those particular things. If you build up these particular blocks, these are actually are going to help you to grow in a big way in times to come in future, and are going to help you in positively. Thank you. Thanks a lot. That's from my side. Sanjay, I made you the co-host also, so you can also share your screen if you feel like. I see we have reached the limit of our participants also. So Nikhil, you can keep messaging them that they can go to our FB live page from where they can look at things. So I've stopped my share.
Sure, sir, sure.
And we had 99 people over here, so I think that's going to be the max we can allow. Sanjay, you can start sharing your screen.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks. I'll share my screen. Maybe you should look at switching to Google Meet, because their limit is way higher. I think it's 300 if I remember correctly, and it's more stable than Zoom. At least that's my experience.
Yeah.
Looking at all these platforms we've been playing around with.
Yeah. Actually, the fact is that we have been, we never thought we'll be so so famous, or people will be so happy with our work. But I'm really indebted to all the participants that they keep coming back again and again, and they keep listening to us. Obviously, something good we are doing. Over to you, Sanjay.
Yeah, just a sec. I'll have to go through. Okay, your screen has been. Yeah, all right. Let me share my screen. Just a sec. Is anything coming up? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sanjay, it's clear.
Okay, all right. Excellent. Let me just adjust the view so that, yeah, all right. Okay. So thanks, Parikshat, for this, for inviting me to this exciting web lecture series. And I think it's a great initiative to keep the flag flying in these difficult times. As you mentioned, it's not just about post-COVID, but also during COVID, and how we are able to cope with this crisis for our industry. So to all of the participants, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever time zones you're based in. As I understand, you're joining in from multiple locations. I'm based in Dubai. We're just touching midday, 12 p.m. So good afternoon for me. Yeah. And I'm delighted to be here to share some thoughts on what's cutting edge in our industry, particularly in the this COVID overhang, as I'll say. So let's start off with something that's been the kind of the holy grail of our industry. Given the fact that I'm with Hospitality Management Institute, the Emirates Academy of Hospitality Management, my focus is more on the hospitality side. But do be aware, whatever I'm speaking in terms of my slide deck, a lot of it is applicable to tourism. So that's why instead of saying hospitality and tourism, I've just decided to bunch it all together and call it the industry, right? And I'd love to hear, particularly from our youngsters, what you think about the role of technology when we open up for Q&A. Okay, so very quickly, as far as the agenda is concerned, I will try to demystify what is digital transformation, because there are multiple meanings, multiple attributes, multiple interpretations. And I believe I heard Parikshat mention that Industry 4.0 was already covered, but I'll just quickly touch upon that element as well, how it links to digital transformation, because essentially that's the growth driver. Then we'll look at big data, which is fueling all this, loads and loads of data, and what do we do with it. Another element, which is probably you must have covered this in your Industry 4.0 discussion, which is IoT, which Internet of Things, and how that is again contributing to the digital transformation aspects. And we'll look at some industry use cases, because it's not so much about what will happen. Some of this is already happening, was happening pre-COVID. It's just that COVID has accelerated all this, okay? And finally, what is the post-COVID significance for digital transformation in terms of its impact on the industry? So let's take a look at this holy grail of our industry. All along, we've been attempting to answer these sort of questions. Is it visible to all of you? I hope the clarity is okay. What's on the screen? Yeah. Is the screen clear?
It's perfect, sir.
It is
right,
all
brilliant.
clear.
Okay, fine. Just alert me, because in case there is any glitch, all right? So as I said, all along, we've been attempting to answer these.
We'll keep you posted, Sanjay.
Yeah, sure. Cheers. Thanks. Yeah, because my view could be a little different from yours, and I'm concerned about the bandwidth, so that's why I brought it up with that. Okay, so all along we've been attempting to answer these sort of questions, what you see on your screen. And how do we do this? Using 19th century protocols for hospitality and tourism, with 20th century technology, trying to satisfy the 21st century guests, right? So basically, we were getting nowhere with this, and now comes COVID. The legacy systems just aren't up to the mark. So what's holding us back from using agile, contemporary digital tools that some of the other sectors have so successfully adopted? And what exactly are these tools? Post-COVID, what is their role? And can our industry afford being a laggard, as it has been, or at least as it has been perceived to be, in embracing digital transformation? So this is all up for debate, and I think this will form some great research questions for those of you who are pursuing a research-based approach to your education, or even for our academic scholars, my academic peers. So let's set the agenda along these lines. Digital transformation. Different people have different take on it. So just take a look at this. It can mean different things. So from an end user's perspective, we need a proper framework to clarify the semantics of what is digital transformation. It goes beyond just formal definitions. There are a lot of technical definitions out there. One of the sort of definitions, if you please, for lack of a better expression, that I prefer or like, because it pretty much covers it all, is this one. Let me read it out for you. I know you all cannot read, but it just gives, since it's sort of so central to our discussion today. So digital transformation is the profound and accelerating transformation of business activities, processes, competencies, and models to fully leverage the change and opportunities of digital technologies in a strategic and prioritized way. So many sectors are at various stages of digital transformation. Unfortunately, our industry has been a bit of a laggard when it comes to its uptake. Why has this been the case? Because our hands have been tied down with legacy systems which were created way back in the 60s and 70s. The core of our booking engines, the core of our GDSs, these are all like ancient technologies. And we still continue to build core, work with these technologies as the foundations of our industry. And this needs to change at some stage. So do you know what this is? Why I put this slide here? This depicts a black swan. Just look it up. What is a black swan event? So a black swan event is an unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation and has been that has a potentially a very severe impact and consequences. So what we're facing now, COVID, is an example of a black swan event. Okay, so this kind of an event, as you can see with COVID, is characterized by extreme rarity. No one anticipated this. And the impact is pretty severe. As you can see, practically every sector, every country has been impacted. And the widespread insistence that they were obvious only in hindsight. So only in hindsight, you can say, we should have seen this coming, right? You can learn more about this. It's a pretty interesting concept based on statistical theory. Some of you may be familiar with Nassim Taleb. He had written this book called Fooled by Randomness. It's not a technical book. It's a very nicely written, lucidly written book on these type of random events. He was the one who successfully predicted the 2008 financial crisis as well. So what we're facing now is a black swan event. So digital transformation for our industry, as I said, we've been a kind of a laggard, and it was happening in bits and pieces. And now here comes COVID. So our industry's attitude has been, are we paying attention to the tool set of contemporary technology platforms? We call this industry 4.0, right? And this has been a driver of digital transformation. What has already begun by way of digital transformation in bits and pieces will now witness an accelerated deployment across all the sector verticals post COVID-19. Because this is not now no more just nice to have, but need to have, right? So let's kind of demystify the jargon. What do we understand by all these technologies? What is driving all this? What are the key drivers for this digital transformation? Okay. What you see on your screens is a gamut of technology pillars that form the core of digital transformation. Okay. These together with other emerging technologies manifest themselves as what we know as Industry 4.0. And it's also sometimes called the Industrial Revolution. The first Industrial Revolution, as most of you may be aware, started with the invention of the steam engine somewhere about 3 centuries ago. And this has been the evolution chart. So here's where we are today. And just wait till 5G comes in, right? Once 5G is deployed at scale, you will see a massive, massive uptake in the Industry 4.0 tools. So it's going to be even more spectacular than what we're seeing now, with COVID being the trigger or a catalyst for this transformation, right? So I'll focus on 2 of these drivers, Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, because that's where my research area has been in the last few years. So all these AI, blockchain, IoT, mixed reality, robotics, which are the core drivers, this is practically each one of these is finding a good use case in hospitality and tourism. And there is a lot of development work going on, both on the technical side as well as on the business side, on how these technologies can be leveraged to drive value. And all this, of course, starts with data, big data, right? So before we get into big data, let's see whether we agree on this, whether data is the new oil. There has been a bit of a consensus lately that in the data story, data is the new oil. It's up again for debate and research. This is a task for you. Some of you may be aware that Marriott, which is now the world's largest hospitality chain, acquired Starwood, and I think they paid somewhere around $14 billion for that acquisition. Why? Starwood didn't own that many hotel assets. They were mostly managing. So why did Marriott pay such a huge premium to acquire Starwood? Yeah, there is a data link to it. Okay, you can Google it. Why was such a premium placed on? So that's there's an element of data connection there. I'll give you a hint. It's got to do something with their loyalty program, Starwood's loyalty program. And there's a lot. So what's happening is our industry is generating a lot of data. I'll show you a data map later. And the question, what do we do with this data? So we are data-rich analysis power. And that's where the big data story begins to evolve. Just to put things into perspective, how do we understand big data? What are the key drivers for big data? Okay. Again, multiple definitions. I will stick to this definition, which you see on your screens, in the interest of consistency. And it's characterized by what are called the 3 V's of big data. Volume, that means lots and lots of data being generated. Velocity, that means the speed at which data is changing. And also, it's also called this data in motion. So for example, real-time dashboards, right? And then variety, because whenever we think about data, we think numbers, but no, hang on. More than 80% of the data are unstructured data. That means these are not numbers and figures. These are text, images, videos, voice. All this is unstructured data. And that comprises 80% of the overall data that we deal with, right? And again, look at the beneficiaries of big data. For example, do you know which is the world's largest bank as such that doesn't have any cash? Bitcoin, right? Cryptocurrencies. World's largest taxi company, Uber. Okay, maybe now with all this COVID, that the status may be lost a bit, but they don't own a single cab. In our own industry, we have Airbnb, yeah? Facebook, on which this session is being live streamed. They don't own any content. We create the content for them as users, right? So all this relates to data. Even for online travel agencies, what are they? They don't have any physical assets. They're just data aggregators, right? So it all boils down to data, and that is what is fueling the digital transformation. So what is happening now is another source of data is being added, which is IoT, Internet of Things. Again, in the interest of consistency, I'm going to stick to this definition because there are multiple definitions out there. Essentially, these are sensors. There are various prognoses about IoT in how it will be deployed, etc. But you have to understand that we'll see a massive uptake of this technology, particularly during and post-COVID recovery phase, because it's all about, it enhances the no-touch aspect. We've been an industry which has always prided ourselves in being high-tech, high-touch, right? Now, post-COVID, the high-touch element is going to be replaced by no-touch. And this is exactly why Internet of Things, or IoT as we call these sensors, are going to play a big role. So for instance, by waving my hand, I can open the curtains in my hotel room as an example, right? Or as soon as I enter the room, the lights turn on. This is something we're already familiar with in many places. So this is only going to get even deeper, this type of deployment. I'm able to control all the in-room, the air conditioning, the lighting, whatever I need to, in-room technologies using my smartphone or through actions, okay? So this is an example of IoT in actions where I feel safe not having to touch any surfaces. So now there's even more data because of IoT. And as I said before, we are a data-rich analysis poor industry. So what's the use of all this data if we cannot harvest it to bring any value? And this is where BI, business intelligence, and AI, artificial intelligence, comes in, which is part of the digital transformation story. And let us first understand the difference between the two. Business intelligence is about monitoring the overall enterprise performance through data-driven insights, whereas AI, or artificial intelligence, is about machines emulating the human brain to build a digital mannequin of intelligence, which is characterized by goal-oriented and adaptive behavior. This is very important, and that's why I sort of put it in italics: goal-oriented and adaptive behavior, right? So essentially, there's a certain goal that we meet with data, getting the machines to think as humans, okay? On that note, by the way, just check out what is Turing's test. We still haven't reached there, and that's going to be an interesting point when artificial intelligence is able to crack the Turing test, okay? T-U-R-I-N, Turing, just look it up. So here, it's important not to confuse BI with AI, right? For example, as I said, a lot of data is unstructured data. Guest reviews, mining guest reviews to provide a sentiment score is a great example of using artificial intelligence or machine learning more specifically, which is a branch of artificial intelligence, to get insights into how you or your competition is faring. Okay. So this is the distinction between BI and AI. So moving forward, here's an example of revenue management. What you see on the screen is revenue management as it is practiced now in most of our industry, right? So that's why I called it RM 1.0. That means the classical revenue management. A lot of people in our industry want to make a career in revenue, finance. So just watch out for this space, right? Because what's happened is with COVID disruption, more of the same is not going to happen. So if you're in revenue management or you're thinking of starting a career in revenue management, this is a great opportunity for you to upskill and help bring the benefits of digital transformation back into this industry using the Industry 4.0 tools. Not only do you stay employable, but you will help bring our industry into the post-COVID recovery phase quicker. You don't need to be a geek in this domain. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't even need to know coding, because what we're seeing now is democratization of data science, where business users are able to use machine learning algorithms through very easy interfaces and software, right? And that's exactly the area that I've been researching, the democratization of data science. Okay. So what you need, however, is the domain knowledge. And this is where US tourism and hospitality students have a great advantage over those data scientists who know only how to code. Because what is very critical here is knowledge of the industry. And this combined with data science tools can put you in a different league. So this is revenue management 1.0. Upon applying Industry 4.0 tools, best available rate pricing is replaced by dynamic pricing. Rules-based statistical models are replaced by not just historical data, but real-time analysis and external data. The outcome here is to maximize not just the occupancy, but net revenue. The focus doesn't become just on guest rooms, but on all the revenue streams, right? Like food and beverage, spa. I'm using this example from hospitality because this is something that I've been actively researching. And I'm sure you can find similar parallels in tourism, okay? Instead of looking at limited channel distribution and pricing recommendation, you have complete automation, right? So this brings us the question, okay, how am I going to be employable? So that's the whole idea here. You upskill yourself with these tools. You have the domain knowledge. Remember, a machine will not replace you. The machine will only complement you, all right? And in revenue management, currently it's all siloed. All the operations, marketing, it's all siloed. What we look at here is an integrated approach, right? So it connects to operations, marketing, and all the other systems. We have what's called a data lake in this case. So this brings us to the data map, as I mentioned before. What does the data map in a typical hotel perspective look like? This is what essentially it looks like. So you can see all these data sources and add IoT to that. So can you imagine what prospects we have for deriving value from the data that's being generated? The question is, are we doing it? As yet, no. But now we will be compelled to moving forward, because if we don't have data-driven insights, we'll simply not cease to exist as a business, okay? So this is something that you should focus on moving ahead. It's not just the traditional revenue management techniques or operations techniques or guest relations techniques that we learn through our textbooks, because those are based on protocols which were created in the past. This is future-proofing yourselves by equipping yourselves with these Industry 4.0 tools, okay? IoT, as I said, which is bound to gain immense traction in the post-COVID scenario, is also going to contribute heavily to this data spectrum, okay? So let's look at this in terms of what can be done with the data. This is the data analytics spectrum. Parikshat had mentioned about reactive, active, proactive. This is exactly where we stand now. Let me see if I can highlight this. So our industry hasn't quite gone beyond, oops, sorry, I think I skipped. Our industry hasn't quite gone beyond this stage where we are. Let me engage the pen because I can accordingly All right. So this is more about, reactive approach. Here we are already looking at an active approach, and this is when we begin to move into the proactive approach, right? So as tourism and hospitality scholars, practitioners, we need to be aware of this spectrum, and Industry 4.0, AI, machine learning falls into this space. In most business courses in tourism and hospitality, we learn about statistics. Those statistical methods are usually confined to this space. It's already passé. The past is no more a very reliable indicator of the future because things are changing so quickly. Remember in the big data story I mentioned, velocity, volume, velocity, and variety. Velocity means the speed at which things are changing. It's just spectacular. So why AI in our industry? Let's look at some use cases. Recommendation engines, enhancing guest experience, revenue management systems. We've just given the example of revenue management 1.0 and revenue management 2.0, and optimizing demand forecasting, just based on the predictive analytics spectrum that I just shared with you a while back. Okay, so another example, here we have AI machine learning deployment. This is actually happening, by the way, so it's not something which is out of fiction. Big hotel chains have already implemented virtual voice assistants such as Amazon's Alexa or Google Home to enhance the customer experience, the guest experience. Hilton has gone further by implementing Connie, a robotic concierge, which you see on your screens, which is based on IBM Watson's machine learning algorithm. Connie is based on a cognitive intelligence. It learns, adapts, and improves its recommendations. The more it interacts with guests, the better it gets. Okay. Starwood is tied up with Sakio, which is a Series A startup in hospitality robotics, and they have trialed out 2 robot concierges, ALO, and it's called ALO in its hotels in the US, still not deployed it overseas. And in Japan, there's this interesting hotel called Hena, which has even replaced all of its service assistants with robots, right? Of course, this is still like a novelty value, but it's happening, it's already there. So while there is a rise of artificial intelligence in hospitality industry, it sparks fears that, okay, there'll be job losses, no humans, etc., etc. What you have to understand is robots and these machine learning algorithms can free up a lot of the routine tasks, okay, so that the staff can be more productive elsewhere, something that machines can't do. And this is the opportunity that you need to seize to ensure that you are you future-proof your employment and you add value to the industry. Okay. I'll quickly go through some other examples of where these type of technologies have been deployed. So here's an example of database recommendations from a delivery service, apps explaining ingredients on the menu. Again, this is relating now to the no-touch environment that we're going to get used to post-COVID. Digital installations. This is, of course, more from an aesthetic perspective, but what happens here is it restricts the number of guests to a table because of this experience value which is added through this technology. Again, post-COVID, we have to get used to smaller groups to avoid overcrowding. And here's an example which is, again, a great showcasing of AI in action. Alibaba, some of us are familiar with this giant, which is the Chinese equivalent of Amazon. They've come up with this hotel called Flyzoo in Hangzhou. It is entirely tech-driven. So there are robots that are used for check-in, check-out. All the services are automated. There is no human intervention. Okay. And then smart service robots for hotels. Again, this is from Alibaba. They've created robots that deliver in-room service. Probably these type of technologies are bound to see a spike post-COVID simply because of the no-touch element gaining prominence. So the whole question is, where do you fit into all this? All right. So here's the innovation adoption curve. Most of us feel, okay, are we ready for this as yet? Typically, you can see in the spectrum, of course, this is pretty idealized, but you have the innovators, the early adopters, you have the late majority, and then you have the laggards. Here, this is a losing proposition, right? So if you want to get into it quick, seize the opportunity. Of course, COVID is a massive tragedy. It's a great adversity, but in adversities, you can find opportunities in terms of upskilling. And as Parikshat had mentioned, use this as an opportunity to think afresh and bring fresh ideas into this industry. So moving ahead, what we see here in terms of the impact of AI and automation, in a theoretical world, obviously, if everyone has AI, there won't be any information asymmetry. But in reality, only those early adopters and people who have adopted at scale will be superstar firms. And on the employment side, overall effect is negative, but please do note that the low educated will be the ones to suffer. If you upskill yourselves, highly educated people with the right skill sets will only thrive moving forward. So whether we like it or not, Industry 4.0 is shaking up our job market and the industry landscape. Therefore, upskilling is the only way forward. So quickly, to give you an idea of the ecosystem, you have IoT plus all those data sources feeding into the big data story. And then that in turn goes into feeding the machine learning, artificial intelligence algorithms. We've published this paper, which has been one of the first papers on IoT in hospitality. I'm happy to share it with you if anyone's interested, where all the details are being laid out, including use cases. So to wrap up my bit, in the post-COVID-19 world, we will have journeyed from high-tech, high-touch to high-tech, no-touch. And this is exactly where Industry 4.0 applications are set to play a big role. With the right balance of domain knowledge, upskilling, and passion for tech, you can be at the heart of this industry's revival. So as they say, just go ahead and do it and stay safe, all right? If there's time for questions or provisions for it, I'm happy to take any questions. I'll stop sharing my screen. Just a sec.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thanks a lot.
I hope I didn't exceed my time. I was not quite sure how I did with the time. Okay, managed to wrap it in 30 minutes.
Well in time. We still have time for some few quick questions. Nikhil, can you start sharing the questions? Oh, great. Nikhil is already done. So the first question that we have over here is, should the prices of the hotels rise amid COVID-19? What's your take on this, Sanjay? And by the way, you were talking about the paper. If you can share that paper with us, we'll put that on our FB page and on our blog, so that
sure, I'll do that. I'll ping it over to you.
So we put all the content on our FB page and on our blog, so that anybody and everybody can watch it.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll share the paper.
Here's the question: should the prices of the hotels rise amid COVID-19? So that's the first question.
It's a very tricky question, because now if you look at it, hotels have to put in, apart from all the other hygiene protocols, now this added layer of hygiene and health has come into play. Who's going to bear the cost, right? So but you have to look at it from a demand side. As it is, demand has been shaken. There has been an economic impact too. So if hotels raise their price to cover up these costs, would the guests actually be willing to come to and pay that premium? Look at the experience. I mean, personally, I'm speaking for myself, okay? Ask yourselves how you would put in, how you would look at it. To go to a hotel now, anywhere, okay? First of all, to travel, I have a mental block for now, okay? And then to be put with a mask, get into the hotel lobby, have my temperature checked. It looks more like an ICU ward than a hotel, right? In many places, the facilities are not yet been opened. So am I willing to pay a premium for this sort of stuff? Buffets are not going to be there anymore. They've already, because of health issues, no more buffets. That's already clear now, moving ahead. So I don't think hotels will be doing themselves a big favor if they were to increase their prices, as much as they're under pressure for generating more revenue. This is a space that we'll have to watch. They'll also have to invest in technology infrastructure, as we mentioned, IoT devices, etc., for the touchless experience. So all this is going to cost the hotels a lot. But at the end of the day, if they increase their prices, people simply won't come. Unless they're able to provide some USP of an experience which guests will be willing to pay that premium for. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I mean, it's not exactly an answer, but it's just sharing thoughts.
Yeah, I think Sanjay, there's another take in this that obviously once the hotels start operating, if at all, if they start operating in near future, they're not going to operate at their full occupancy. So as we have been discussing, that the banquet which could hold 400 people is now going to hold around 200 or 150. So that's going to be one of those stuffs. And also the fact that if I am traveling, I would, the prime concern for me would be health and safety, and then the cost would be the second aspect. And also if earlier I was going for 10 trips, now I would be going to 3 or 4 trips only. So if we look at all this, there will be more disposable income on hand vis-a-vis my expenditure for travel is concerned. And I might be willing to pay more, but it's a catch-22 situation. Right? It's a catch-22 situation, and you will have to wait and watch how the industry moves forward and how industry looks forward. There's another question. What is Jumeirah, since you are there in Dubai, so what is Jumeirah set of hotels' principles of abiding to the digital transformation?
Okay, good question without being disloyal to my employer or anything. So yeah, obviously Jumeirah has been at the forefront of, just by way of background, by the way, Emirates Academy of Hospitality Management, where I work, is a strategic business unit of the Jumeirah Group. So we've been working closely with Jumeirah's Group IT in terms of the digital initiatives. Obviously, COVID has put a bit of a spanner in the works, but there has been a fresh thinking moving away from the legacy systems that have dominated the hospitality space. So we have been actively working with a host of startups ranging from blockchain technologies to machine learning platforms to see how the hospitality technology landscape can be made nimble and adaptive as we move forward in this age of Industry 4.0. So that's how we are kind of looking at the digital transformation. And of course, I think post-COVID, this will only accelerate.
Okay, so we'll quickly take one more question. With Industry 4.0, are we not developing a man and machine race, especially in a country like India? We need to employ the men instead of the machines.
Again, it's a double-edged sword, honestly. And I think it's not so much about man or machine. As you correctly have phrased it, it's man and machine. So we should be looking at having algorithms and robots as colleagues, as our co-workers, rather than simply looking at them as usurping our jobs. It's all about upskilling. If you have the right skill sets, remember, you still have the domain knowledge that the machines don't. And this is your USP. So how you leverage USP is the key aspect, right? Humans are prone to error. If you want to be a competitive economy, whether you like it or not, you have to go in for Industry 4.0 tools. As much as you want to provide employment to a large number of people. And this brings us to a social question, upskilling, education. So if these are the priorities which are correctly addressed, then the entire upcoming generation will be made fit to work in this Industry 4.0 ecosystem.
Yeah, and as we always say that it's not the machine, that it's the man behind the machine that matters. And obviously, if you keep yourself abreast with the things, obviously there will be new and new opportunities building it up, and new and new structures coming up. I think you will be, and you have to make people feel that you are wanted, and there will be a space for you. I think we have time for only these many questions, but we'll have the answers posted on our FB page. Even if you have more questions, you can keep sending it to Nikhil. So Nikhil will compile them and share it with me and Sanjay, and we'll have the replies pretty soon.